the Nacua brothers, both are leaving A, Washington, B, we already knew Utah. But yesterday we found out that they are going to BYU, and this is a big deal. With all due respect to Samson Nacua, Puka Nacua is a legitimate number one wide receiver in any program. He's got that kind of skill and talent. He is an NFL prospect. He's got that kind of upside. BYU's going to have to drag it out of him a little bit, but they're going to have time to do that because both Puka and Samson Nacua are going to BYU. And on its face, it's a huge move for BYU. It upgrades the wide receivers. That's already a pretty strong group. This makes them, in my opinion, an elite group. And it makes your quarterback situation a lot easier to solve because you have guys now who can really help your quarterbacks. They help the offensive line. They help the running backs, right? BYU's offense got much better yesterday. Don't get me wrong. I'm not downplaying that at all. Here's the real win for BYU. The real win is that you just put Zach Wilson probably at the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. Where did Zach Wilson go to high school, Jake? Corner Canyon in Draper. He's a local guy. He wanted to go to Boise. He loved Utah. He wound up at BYU. And he wound up being the number 1 quarterback. And he wound up being the darling of the NFL draft coming up here in about 6 weeks. And if he truly goes number 2 in this draft, and again, ESPN put out another mock draft yesterday that had him as the second. Mel Kiper's big board had him as the number 2 quarterback in this draft. BYU doesn't put guys in the NFL. BYU, you don't go to BYU to go to the NFL. You go to Utah to go to the NFL. Maybe not anymore because you're starting to see that it's not just Kyle Van Noy. It's not just, again, Taysom Hill. It's not just Jamal Williams. Now you're starting to see more guys who are going to BYU end up in the NFL. And you're starting to see the Warners of the world. And you're starting to see now that if Zach Wilson takes this number 2 spot, when he was a kid playing football at Corner Canyon, that matters. Now you have guys like Puka Nacua, who is arguably the best wide receiver that's ever come out of this state. Went to Washington. I know they only played, 4 games? He played 3 games. He led them in wide receiving. He's going to leave the Pac-12 to go to TDS? Oh, what? I mean, what? Yeah, because why? Because local kids want to play at BYU. That's the narrative that's being painted here. That's the message that's being reinforced by the fact that good old Corner Canyon alum Zach Wilson is going to go at the top of the NFL draft. And if you look at the way this is shaking out, this could be a real moment in time where you say, oh man, you know where this all changed? When Zach Wilson went to BYU, he wound up at BYU instead of Boise, and then the Nacua brothers, and you just start feeling like that local recruiting ball is rolling. And it's not a secret anymore. I know everybody knows this because they all come here and recruit. Utah's a hotbed of football talent. And I'm telling you, Jake, if BYU starts winning the local recruiting war, look out, because now you can have a rivalry, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think to me the interesting thing is that, Utah is known as a defensive school and known as a running back school. And, these two being wide receivers and choosing to go to BYU, to me, obviously it's a big deal. But if you really sit down and think about it and look at the situations that they're presented with, is it really a surprise that they chose BYU? With them being wide receivers, is it a surprise that they chose BYU? Because Zach Wilson just put down one of the best seasons a quarterback has ever had at BYU, which leads you to believe the next quarterback at BYU who's been sitting behind Zach Wilson, who's been in the film room with Zach Wilson, who's been learning from that guy, who's going to come out this year, should be able to do some nice things for you. And if you really are, that good as a wide receiver, you got a great shot. So it doesn't really surprise me that we have two brothers who want to play together again, leaving the Pac-12 to go to a brand in BYU that's hot right now. I mean, yes, did they go to a deep playoff run in college football terms? No, but At the end of the day, all you got to do to get into the NFL is you need to put great game tape together. You need to show people that you've got legit talent, that you can play, that you can do your thing, and that you would be a valuable commodity on a 52-man roster. And that's what they're going to BYU to do. And I think that will happen. The only thing that will keep them from that is injury. Literally, the only thing that will keep them from that is injury. So I think it's a brilliant move by these two.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's interesting that I love. I should be careful here because I know I'm going to be a nerd.
Off.
But I love local recruiting. I love it, and I know that there's always been a give and take. See Rocky Bernard or see any of the other guys who have the infamous Dallin Levitt transfer. I mean, we could go round and round about where local kids have ended up playing at different local schools. This feels different. This feels bigger. This feels transformative. And I think you're right. I mean, if you want to go to the NFL, you go to Utah. Well, that narrative might be getting crushed. I mean, I get it. If you want to be a corner or a safety, if you want to be a linebacker, if you want to be, Cody Barton and be a linebacker at Utah that goes and plays for the Seahawks, yeah, I get it. I get that.
Yeah.
But I think you look at the fact that you have a multi-time Super Bowl winner in Kyle Van Noy. You just look at the talent now that's impacting. Jamal Williams is a major factor on offense for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
We just talked about Taysom Hill is a major factor on offense for the New Orleans Saints. Taysom Hill was a guy that had multiple injuries at BYU, was ready to be a financial wizard.
Massive injuries.
And all of a sudden the guy got in combine shape, blew people away, wound up in New Orleans being a real figure on a very good football team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm telling you, the Zach Wilson move, the fact that he was able to, they were able to get him to Provo.
Yeah.
And he was able to withstand a really difficult year 2 years ago and then come back and have the year he had this past year.
It's huge.
I think it's huge. And you look at the way that guys like John Beck, and we always hear about guys like John Madsen at Utah.
Right.
John Madsen trains football players. He is if you want to be a great football player at Utah, call John Madsen. Mm-hmm. He'll make that happen. Right? You look at quarterbacks now and you look at what John Beck and Tom House and that triumvirate is doing with quarterbacks, and you start to understand that it's really valuable, right? Just like Chris Brickley in the NFL, or in the NBA rather.
Yeah.
There are guys in the NFL who are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're starting to understand that BYU is becoming more and more of a player. I get it. We'll join a conference. I think they'd love to. Well, you're never going to win if you're independent. I think we're starting to knock that down a little bit. This was a team that was in play for a New Year's Six Bowl for most of this past season, right? And then the whole Washington thing happened. We get it. And then you went and lost to Coastal. We get it. But they were still there. And a season that was lost for a lot of people, it turned into one of the dream seasons for BYU.
Yeah.
And now their starting quarterback is going to be at the top of the NFL draft.
Yeah, and I think the haters will say that season was built on a lot of subpar teams. And I think that is a weak take, but I think there's credence to it, but I also think you're being a hater by bringing that up because they did everything that they could do to build a great schedule with what they were given to them, and I think that what they were able to accomplish definitely was awesome. Now, to be honest with you, I think that yes, they do need to go out and make a bowl this year. That has to happen.
Yes.
You can't be a one-and-done team playing a weak-ass schedule in COVID and then come out and play a really strong schedule and look really bad. That cannot happen. I mean, you can't afford that. I mean, just like you were just saying, you've got all this momentum from a program perspective, the Nacua Brothers, Zach Wilson getting drafted. I mean, all this great stuff is happening, but then when the season starts and we start playing football, if you get your ass handed to you,
yes.
What's really changed? Really changed?
Not much. Not much, but I think that's why Aaron Roderick coming back to coach quarterbacks at BYU is a big deal. By the way, where did he used to work? You look at Kalani, where did he used to work? Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, this is a really important time in BYU football. And this win with the Nacua Brothers, this win that they're about to have with Zach Wilson, this idea that their quarterback is just going to fall apart, and I think it is. You know, who is it? I don't know what Baylor Romney or Jaron Hall or Jacob Conover. Like, this is going to be an awesome quarterback battle. And I have every confidence in the world they're going to get high quality execution at the quarterback next year. It's going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, agree.
I'm really excited about it. Make sure you hit subscribe on the old YouTube machine. Just search The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show.